What if I told you that the key to getting a woman's attention is to take a step back? Imagine that you've been after her for weeks, doing everything you can to win her over, and then all of a sudden you stop calling or texting her. What happens next is truly amazing. In today's video, we'll be exploring the psychology of attraction through the lens of Stoicism. By removing your attention, you're not only changing the game, you're also changing the whole story of your interactions. This isn't just about dating, it's about using the power of self-control and strategic detachment. When you stop chasing women, something amazing happens that can make her curious and awaken her primal instincts to compete. Get ready to explore the depths of the female mind as we reveal the secrets that will not only captivate her, but also change the way you date forever. Are you ready to become the man she can't stop thinking about? Let's get started. If you think this is useful, please click like. Number 1. She becomes interested. Imagine this. You've been chasing her like a child after a dream. You've been the one to reach out, the first to initiate, the always available, the sender of that good morning text, and the one to make sure you're in places where she might be hoping she'll notice you. But one day, you stop. No more good morning texts. No more trying to run into her by accident. It's as if you've disappeared from her world, leaving her with nothing but silence. What do you think will happen next? This is where the dynamics change completely. You pull away. You're not following the usual path. She's so used to it that all of a sudden, what just happened? Why did he stop? You've become a mystery to her. Still, there's something she can't quite figure out, and this is where the intrigue starts to grow. Stoic lessons are perfectly aligned with this change. Instead of trying to control things, you let them happen naturally, without being desperate for a certain result. Human nature is curious, especially when something doesn't go as expected, when you stop chasing, when you stop giving her all your energy. She starts to wonder about you. She'll glance at her phone, checking if maybe she missed a message from you. She might hear your name in conversations and listen a little closer, wondering what you're up to. Suddenly the balance has shifted and you're no longer the one in pursuit. She's the one left wondering where you've gone, what you're doing, and why you're no longer seeking her attention. Think about it. The more you chase someone, the more they feel they're in control. You hand them all the power. But when you pull back, when you stop actively seeking validation, something incredible happens. You regain your power. Now she's thinking about you more. Not because you're chasing her, but because your absence has created a space for her curiosity to grow. It's in that space where she begins to wonder if she missed something important, if she somehow lost your interest, or if you've moved on to something or someone else. This in itself is a reflection of Stoic wisdom. Chasing after someone, constantly seeking their approval, is a form of attachment. But when you pull away, when you detach yourself from needing her attention, you not only free yourself from the anxiety of pursuit, but you also become more attractive in the process. Your confidence and self-assuredness shine through because you're no longer dependent on her validation to feel secure in who you are. Here's the real kicker. People are drawn to what they can't easily have when you stop chasing her. When you become that unsolved mystery, she'll find herself thinking about you more and more, not because you're playing mind games, but because you've become something intriguing, something that makes her wonder. You've taken control of the narrative by simply stepping back and letting her curiosity fill the gaps. And in doing so, you've transformed into the most captivating part of her day. She'll feel the shift, and before long, she'll be the one chasing you, trying to figure out why she can't stop thinking about you. And that, my friends, is how you turn the tables without lifting a finger. You become the puzzle she wants to solve, the mist she can't quite. By shaking off your need for her, you become the man she's drawn to all of a sudden. The more you focus on yourself and your own happiness, the more attractive you become. When you take a step back, Something interesting starts to happen in her mind. She notices your absence, and it causes her to think about her behavior in ways she may not have thought about before. It's like you held up a mirror for her and made her see herself through a different lens for the first time. Suddenly, she starts to question every little thing. Was she too casual? She starts to wonder if her behavior is part of the reason you've pulled away. This is where things start to get interesting. Did her answers seem uninterested? Did she laugh too hard at your jokes? Her mind turns into a courtroom where she is both the defendant and the judge. She goes over old talks, reads every text message, and analyzes how people behaved in the past, looking for, there are hints that she might have said something wrong or been too cold. This isn't just a passing thought. She's really thinking about herself and starting to see things she hadn't seen before. She's going through the records of your relationship and having to really think about her actions, her attitude, and even her emotional availability. But why does this happen? Because you're not there, there is a void, a silence where there used to be constant pursuit. This void makes her question not only the relationship, but also herself. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism comes in. By taking a step back, you're practicing emotional control and detachment, which are key Stoic principles. Instead of reacting to her behavior by chasing or trying to fix things, you've chosen to focus on yourself. You're not driven by the need for approval or validation, as Epic said, because you've chosen not to chase her, but to let her come to her own conclusions. This shift often leads her to a surprising conclusion. Self-help and growth. With the space you've given her, she starts to understand that she may not have been as interested as she should have been, or that she may have taken your interest for granted. She starts to make changes because of this. This makes her more aware of how she treats you and other people, and that's the great thing about Stoicism in relationships. You're letting her reach these conclusions on her own, without you having to control or force anything to happen. While she's doing this, you're living your best life and focusing on your own growth and goals. You're not waiting for her to come back. Instead, you're being stoic and moving forward regardless of what happens. This is a powerful state to be in. You've mastered the art of detachment and self-control, knowing that your worth doesn't come from her attention, but from within. When you do decide to come back into the picture, she'll probably have changed. She'll be more engaged, more appreciative, and maybe even more drawn to you than before. This is because your absence gave her time to think about what she might be missing. It's a win-win situation. You've both grown and gotten better, and now the balance is in your favor. Remember that when you stop chasing her, you're not losing anything. In fact, you're gaining the upper hand by being emotionally strong and giving her the chance to think about and improve herself. This is what Stoic power in relationships is all about. Letting go of the need to chase and letting both of you grow into better versions of yourselves. Before we move on to the next point, let's take a moment to think about how powerful this approach is. By practicing emotional control and detachment, you're following one of the most important Stoic principles. Your value doesn't come from other people's approval. It comes from within. If this message speaks to you, please leave a comment below and share your experiences, or just type, "My worth comes from inside," and your thoughts and reflections make this group stronger. Thank you all for being a part of this journey. Now let's move on to the next one. Point number 3. She recognizes her feelings. Imagine you've been running in circles trying to catch someone's attention, pouring effort into every conversation, every gesture, every moment. But then you stop, not out of frustration or defeat, but because you've come to a powerful realization, one rooted deeply in Stoic wisdom, by no longer chasing. You've given her something she didn't expect: the space to truly think about you. This is where everything changes. It's like a shift in the air, an almost imperceptible difference. Suddenly you're not there, as often your attention isn't always at her disposal. And just like that, the dynamic flips when you step back. It's as though you've triggered a spark in her mind, a light that she didn't know existed. She begins to feel something she hadn't felt before, a recognition of her own emotions that had been hidden beneath the surface. This concept ties directly to Stoicism, which teaches us to let go of what we cannot control and focus on our inner world, our own actions, our own behavior. When you stop pursuing, you're no longer clinging to external outcome, such as her reactions or attention. Instead, you focus on yourself, cultivating your inner peace, your strength, your self-worth. And in doing so, you allow her to reflect on what she truly feels for you. Before, when you were always present, texting, calling, making plans, there was no need for her to think about what your presence meant to her. She may have even taken it for granted. But now, in your absence, a void appears, and nature despises emptiness. She starts to remember the little times your words made her smile that she had missed. Being with you made her feel safe. It's like you paused the movie, and now she's remembering all the best parts. It was easy for her to forget those things when you were always there. Marcus Aurelius said that what stops people from acting leads to action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. By taking a step back, you've made it so that your absence is what makes her understand how much you cared. She starts to think about things. Maybe she laughs at a joke you told her, or she sees how quiet her phone is without your messages. There are many small realizations that lead to a big one. You added value to her life that she didn't realize until you were gone. It's important to remember that this process doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, like a smoldering fire that eventually catches fire. She might start to daydream about you, wondering what you're doing, who you're with, and most importantly, why you're not there. She starts to feel that pang of absence, which forces her to face her own feelings. The best part is that she came to this decision on her own. You didn't have to persuade her or change her mind. It's happening because you gave her time and space to think about it. You might not be able to win her heart by giving her your full care and hard work all the time. Instead, you might need to be strong enough to let her deal with her own feelings. Let her know what she had when she had you. When that moment of understanding comes, it will be stronger because she chose to leave, not because you forced her to. That's how the power of Stoicism works. Keep your cool, and everything else will work itself out. If you take a step back and stop constantly trying to get her approval or attention, something profound starts to happen. You become like a rare and valuable treasure that everyone notices. The key difference is that by removing yourself from the chase, both you and she start recognizing your true worth. Imagine this. When you were always there for her, it was easy for her to take you for granted. She might not have seen the depth of what you were offering. But now that you've created distance, it's as if you've shone a spotlight on all the ways you improved her life. She's no longer focused on your presence, but on your absence, and that absence speaks louder than any words could. All the qualities she missed start to stand out. Maybe it's the way you always made her laugh when she was having a bad day, or the way you knew how to help her when she was sad. Maybe it's the little things you did that showed you care, like remembering her favorite song or bringing her favorite snack when she needed it. Comfort. Now that she's alone with her thoughts, she's thinking about all the ways you made her life better, ways she may not have fully appreciated before. It's like she's making a list of her experiences, and the little holes where you used to be are becoming impossible to ignore as she remembers the quiet times you shared with her. The inside jokes, the randomly sent texts, the knowing looks across a room are now playing over and over in her mind. What used to be normal is now something she longs for. From a Stoic point of view, this change isn't just about her noticing your absence. It's about you reclaiming your sense of self-worth by taking a step back and not looking for approval. You're following a basic Stoic principle by respecting yourself and not basing your happiness or sense of self on what other people think. It's not about playing with her feelings. It's about you recognizing that your worth isn't defined by how much attention or affection you can get from someone else. When you stop running after her, you take control of your own narrative. And as you're out there living life on your terms, investing in your own happiness, pursuing your goals and focusing on your growth, she's realizing how much her best moments involved you. She starts to miss the times when you were the one person she could rely on, the one who added laughter, support and warmth to her life without demanding anything in return. What's happening is that she's beginning to appreciate your value, not because you begged for her attention, but because you chose to step away and let her feel the void. So while you're out enjoying life, learning and growing, she's coming to a realization that she may not have had before, that you were not just an option, but a significant part of her life. And trust me, my friend, when that realization hits, it's as if she's discovered something truly precious, a gem that was always there, but only now fully recognized. And that recognition, that's where your power lies. You stopped running, but now she's the one starting to chase. As we move on to the next point, let's take a moment to reflect on the power of knowing your worth and stepping back to allow others to recognize it too. When you stop chasing and start focusing on yourself, you're not just reclaiming your value. This means you are in charge of your life and your happiness. If this speaks to you, please click like and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. If this message really inspires you, type "I take charge of my life." Here's Let's Keep Growing Together. Number 5. More draw. The saying, "absence makes the heart grow fonder," may sound trite, but it's actually very true. But there's more to it than that. When you step back, you don't just create absence. You create mystery, intrigue, and most of all, a sense of value. Let's break this down. Imagine that you're not constantly texting, calling, or trying to impress her. Instead, you've turned your attention to yourself and your goals. From a Stoic point of view, your real strength lies in your goals and your desire to improve yourself. You're no longer obsessed with getting approval or comfort from her. Instead, you're focused on your purpose, and your quiet confidence says a lot, without you saying a word. Imagine how this looks to her. You're not ignoring her calls or going out of your way to please her. You've become someone who isn't always available, and she's suddenly interested. She starts to wonder what you're doing with your time. Are you chasing your dreams? Are you investing in your job or your passions? As the secret deepens, you become a puzzle. And believe me, nothing is more interesting than a puzzle that hasn't been solved. This space gives her a chance to imagine what you could become. She starts to think about you in new ways, recognizing things about you that your past may have made less noticeable. Pursuit your absence gives her a chance to think about all the good things about you. In the first place, she was interested in your charm, what you want, your ability to make her laugh. It's almost like she sees you in a different light now that you're not after her all the time. Stoics teach us that we can't change outside factors, like other people's approval or disapproval. What we can change is how we react, what we do, and how we think. By taking a step back, you're showing that your happiness and fulfillment aren't dependent on her presence. This is very powerful because it shows that you respect yourself. Being independent and at peace with yourself are powerful on their own, but when you stop chasing her, something amazing starts to happen. She starts to feel the shift. She may be used to being the center of your attention, and now that you're focused on someone else, she starts to feel your absence. Your absence creates a hole, and in that void, her attraction grows. She starts to think about where you are, what you're doing, and why you're not available anymore. It's not just what she imagines. When you stop chasing her, you send a clear message that you value yourself and are not willing to give up your dignity or self-respect for anyone's attention. This is where the Stoic mindset shines. You stay calm, collected, and detached from the need for her approval. You are focused on what you can control, your own life and growth, and that speaks louder than any words or grand gestures ever could. Over time, she will start to miss you, noticing every little thing about you that first caught her attention, whether it was the way you always seemed to know what to say or the way you carried yourself with quiet confidence. It could be your drive, your laughter, or the times you spent with her while you were away. All of these things become more vivid and desirable, and she will start to see you in a new light. Ladies, this is where the paradox of attraction becomes clear. Sometimes the most powerful action is doing nothing. By not chasing her or giving her too much attention, you create a space where her interest grows naturally, without you forcing it. Sixth, her priorities shift. If you're always there for her, she might not notice the small things you do to make her day better. Maybe your conversations made her feel better, or your presence made her feel safe, because they were always there for her. But when you leave, the silence you leave behind makes her think. She starts to wonder what she's missing, and more importantly, why she didn't value it before. This change isn't just mental. It's also a practical example of a Stoic principle, letting go of what you can't control. Stoicism teaches that you can regain your power by focusing on yourself and not letting other people's actions affect your own. By taking a step back, you're not playing with her feelings. You're simply giving her the space to recognize your worth on her own. For example, if you've been texting her constantly, always the first to initiate, she might grow accustomed to it, thinking your attention will always be there. But once you stop, that absence makes her notice. She starts to question why you haven't reached out, why she no longer feels that comfort or joy from your texts. This creates a shift where she starts to think more about you, perhaps even missing the very attention she used to overlook when her priorities realign to include you. It's no longer a matter of casual interest. It's a sign that she values your presence and is willing to invest in you. And here's the important part. This shift wouldn't have happened if you hadn't taken that step back by embracing Stoic wisdom and letting go of the need to chase her approval. You allow her to realize your worth in her own time, on her own terms in sum. When a woman begins to shift her focus to include you, it's a powerful sign that she's not just interested, she's invested. This realignment of priorities only happens when you stop chasing and allow her to come to you. So remember, sometimes the best way to move forward is to step back, let go, and trust that what's meant for you will find its way. Number 7, the fear of losing you. Imagine that the moment you stop chasing her, everything changes. It's like you turned the script, and she no longer has the certainty of your constant pursuit. What was once a game of you trying to win her attention is now a game of her wondering why you're not chasing her anymore. This change makes me deeply afraid of losing you. When something we're used to suddenly becomes far away, our natural response is to value it more because we think we might lose it. This is a strong psychological effect because it's in our nature to want things that are hard to get. When you pull away, you create that scarcity. You become a mystery, a prize that's not easy to get. Suddenly, she's thinking about you more often. You've gone from being predictable and easy to get to being elusive, and this makes her feel bad. She might keep checking her phone for a message from you, but if she doesn't get one as often as she used to, she starts to wonder if she said or did something wrong that made you want to be away from her, and the fear of losing you grows. This is where the idea of Stoicism comes in. By not chasing her anymore, You've shown that you're in charge of your feelings and that your worth isn't dependent on her approval. You've become indifferent to the result, which is a core Stoic principle. Instead of reacting or trying to connect with them emotionally, you've given off an air of cool detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you know how valuable you are and aren't willing to beg for attention. Next, people fear losing you. Suddenly, the lack of your pursuit becomes very clear, and she starts to feel the shift. She may start to reach out more, send more texts, and try to reignite the connection, trying to keep the relationship alive in a way that mirrors the energy you once gave. Trying to regain what she feels is slipping away. Think about how this fits with Stoic wisdom. By stepping back, you've given her the chance to see the value of what she had when you were fully engaged. You've given her the space to understand what she stands to lose. This isn't about manipulating her. It's about understanding the natural balance of relationships. When you stop running after her, you're not playing games. You're just focusing on yourself, your own growth, and your own peace of mind. Being a Stoic means you must lead with self-respect instead of wanting to control. The moment you pull back isn't to trick her into caring, but to remind yourself that your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's approval. It's about knowing your worth and not chasing what doesn't serve you. When you stop running after her, you give her the chance to appreciate your presence, fear its absence, and think about what it means to have you in her life. In the end, the fear of losing you works because you've shown that you don't need her to complete you. You've shown that you're whole on your own, and that's where the real power lies. Please let me know what you think. Have you ever gone through this change in your life? Leave a comment below with your story, or just type, "If that word speaks to you." Don't forget to like this video and sign up to get more ideas like these. Thanks for your support as we continue to explore these powerful ideas together. Next, let's talk about point number 8, igniting her competitive spirit. When you were the one constantly pursuing her, the power was in her hands. She could enjoy the attention without having to do anything. But when you step away, the power shifts completely. Now, instead of you seeking her approval, she feels the need to win yours. It's no longer just about getting your attention. She's suddenly aware that other women could catch your eye, and that sets off a fire within her. It's important to remember that this competitive drive isn't just jealousy. At its core, she wants to show herself that she's the one who deserves your time and attention. When you stop chasing her, she realizes she can't take your interest for granted anymore. You may notice small but noticeable changes in her behavior. For example, she may put in more effort to look good when she knows you'll be around. She may also become more interested in sports, music, or even the quiet places you like to go. She's trying to become a female version of the person you were when you were chasing her, and the irony is that the farther away you are, the more she'll want to get closer. But there's more. This competitive spirit doesn't just push her to win you back, it also brings out the best in her. She's not only striving to earn your attention, but she's also pushing herself to be the best version of herself in the process. Whether consciously or not, she starts leveling up the effort she puts into impressing you, also improves her as a person. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism comes into play. Stoic philosophy teaches us the power of self-control, patience and understanding, that we can't control others, only ourselves. By choosing to step back and not letting your emotions drive you to constantly chase her, you exhibit a calm confidence that can't be faked. You show her that your value doesn't come from her validation, but from within. You're not seeking her approval, and that in itself makes you more attractive. As you lean back, you allow her space to engage with you. You stop allowing your need for her attention to dictate your actions. You're showing her through your lack of pursuit that you are content with who you are and where you are in life. This unbothered stance is what ignites her competitive spirit, making her realize that if she doesn't act, someone else might. In the end, you've transformed into something she didn't expect, someone worth pursuing, someone worth fighting for. You've become the prize in a game she didn't even know she was playing, and her competitive nature will drive her to rise to the challenge. So, gentlemen, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let her come to you. In doing so, you not only spark her competitive nature, but also embody the Stoic ideal of inner peace and self-assurance. You aren't chasing anyone. You're simply allowing the universe to unfold naturally, and in this space she will either rise to meet you, or you'll have the freedom to walk away, knowing that your worth was never dependent on her in the first place. As we conclude today's discussion, remember that stepping back is often the key to getting a woman's attention. By doing this, you not only change the situation, but you also give yourself power and self-worth. Stoicism tells us that real strength comes from within. If you focus on yourself instead of chasing after other people, you'll become more attractive. You'll also give her time to think, and she'll often realize what she's been missing. This isn't a game. It's about having self-respect and confidence. When you stop looking for approval from other people, you take back control of your life and give off a calm, sure vibe that makes people want to be around you. Leave a comment below if this message spoke to you and tell us what you think. Please click the like button on this movie. Also, make sure to subscribe for more great ideas like this, and watch the suggested videos on the screen to keep learning how to master the art of attraction. Take care, and I'll see you in the next film.